Long ago, in the ancient lands of Israel, there was a wise and revered king named Solomon. His reign is remembered as one of the most prosperous and enlightened periods in the history of the ancient world. Solomon ruled over Israel with a deep sense of understanding and compassion. His leadership was marked by fairness and a genuine concern for the well-being of his people. He was not just a ruler, but a shepherd to his nation, guiding them with wisdom and care. People from all corners of the known world traveled great distances to hear Solomon's wisdom. His reputation as a sage and a just ruler spread far and wide, drawing scholars, leaders, and common folk alike to his court. They came seeking answers, guidance, and the profound insights that only Solomon could provide. Solomon's wisdom was not merely a product of his own intellect, it was a divine gift bestowed upon him by God. This sacred endowment set him apart from other rulers of his time, granting him unparalleled insight and understanding. In his early days as king, Solomon prayed earnestly for the ability to judge his people fairly and to lead them with justice. His prayers were sincere and heartfelt, reflecting his deep desire to be a righteous and effective leader. God, in his infinite wisdom, answered Solomon's prayer. God granted Solomon a heart of understanding, a rare and precious gift that enabled him to discern right from wrong with exceptional clarity. This divine wisdom became the cornerstone of Solomon's reign, influencing every decision he made. With this extraordinary gift, Solomon became the wisest ruler of his time. His court was filled with scholars and advisors who marveled at his insights and sought to learn from his profound understanding of the world and human nature. Stories of Solomon's wisdom spread far and wide, carried by travelers and traders to distant lands. His fame grew, and his teachings were recorded in ancient texts, ensuring that his legacy would endure for generations to come. People were continually amazed by Solomon's ability to solve even the most difficult and complex problems. His judgments were fair and insightful, often revealing deeper truths that others had overlooked. Solomon's wisdom was a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness, guiding his people toward a brighter future. Solomon knew that being king was a big responsibility. He wanted to rule fairly and wisely, so he prayed to God for help. "Give me an understanding heart," Solomon prayed. He wanted to know right from wrong. He desired to help his people live peacefully. God heard Solomon's sincere prayer. He was pleased with Solomon's humble request. God granted Solomon wisdom beyond measure. Solomon became known for his fairness and compassion. He used his wisdom to guide his people and resolve their disputes. One day, two women came to King Solomon. They were desperate and seeking justice, their hearts heavy with sorrow and confusion. They both carried babies in their arms, but their expressions told very different stories. One woman held her baby close, her eyes filled with tears of joy and relief. One baby was alive and healthy, cooing softly in his mother's embrace, unaware of the turmoil around him. The other baby was dead. The lifeless form wrapped in cloth, a stark contrast to the vibrant life in the other woman's arms. Both women were distraught, their faces etched with pain and loss. They stood before the king, their faces etched with worry and grief. The weight of their sorrow was palpable and the air was thick with tension. The women lived in the same house, sharing their lives and their joys. They had been friends, or at least companions, in their journey of motherhood. They both had given birth just days apart, their homes filled with the cries and laughter of newborns. It was supposed to be a time of celebration and new beginnings. Now, a tragedy had struck, and one baby was gone. The joy that once filled their home had turned into a nightmare. The loss was unbearable and the grief was overwhelming. Each woman claimed the living child as her own. Their voices were filled with desperation and determination, each one convinced that the baby belonged to her. Their sorrow soon turned into anger. The pain of loss and the fear of losing the only remaining connection to their child fueled their rage. They argued bitterly, each accusing the other of terrible things. The accusations flew, and the tension in the room grew. The king watched, his face calm, but his eyes sharp as he listened to their pleas and their cries for justice.
"This woman's baby died during the night. She swapped her dead child for mine while I slept."
"No, the living child is mine. Hers died, and now she wants to steal my son."
Their voices echoed through the hall as they argued. Who was telling the truth? Solomon listened intently. He observed their body language, their tone, their desperation. He needed to find a way to uncover the truth and ensure justice was served. King Solomon raised his hand, silencing the women. The room fell into a tense silence, the air thick with anticipation. Every eye was on the wise king, waiting for his judgment. The dispute had been raging for hours, and the tension was palpable. The two women, both claiming to be the mother of the same child, stood before him, their faces etched with desperation and hope. He thought long and hard about their situation. The weight of his responsibility bore down on him. Solomon knew that his decision would not only affect the lives of the two women, but also the future of the innocent child. He needed to be certain, to find a way to reveal the true mother without causing harm. His mind raced through the possibilities, seeking a solution that would bring justice and truth to light. Then, he made a surprising decision. His eyes gleamed with a sudden clarity, and he rose from his throne with a commanding presence. The court watched in stunned silence as he prepared to deliver his verdict. Solomon's voice rang out, clear and unwavering, as he announced his plan.
Bring me a sword.
The guards were shocked. They exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of what the king intended. The request seemed out of place, almost absurd in the context of a dispute over a child. Yet they knew better than to question Solomon's wisdom. With hesitant steps, they moved to fulfill his command. Why would the king need a sword in a dispute between two mothers? The question hung in the air, unspoken but heavy with curiosity. The courtiers and onlookers whispered among themselves, their minds racing to understand the king's intentions. Was this a test, a riddle, or something more profound?
Pauses, presenting the sword. Your Majesty.
The women gasped. Their eyes widened in horror as the guard presented the sword to Solomon. The gleaming blade caught the light, a symbol of both power and potential violence. The tension in the room escalated and a murmur of fear rippled through the crowd. They couldn't understand what the king was planning. The women, both desperate to prove their motherhood, were now faced with a terrifying possibility. What could Solomon be thinking? How could a sword possibly resolve their dispute? The confusion and fear in their eyes mirrored the uncertainty felt by everyone in the court. A wave of fear washed over them. The thought of harm coming to the child was unbearable. The women clutched their hearts, their breaths quickening with anxiety. The court held its collective breath, waiting for Solomon's next move. The king's calm demeanor only added to the tension as they struggled to comprehend his intentions. Was Solomon going to hurt the babies? The question loomed large in their minds, a dark cloud of dread. The women glanced at each other, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. They were prepared to do anything to protect the child, even if it meant sacrificing their own claims. Solomon, however, had a plan. His wisdom was renowned, and he had no intention of causing harm. He knew that the true mother would reveal herself through her love and compassion. The sword was merely a tool, a catalyst to bring out the truth. Solomon's eyes softened as he prepared to execute his plan, confident in the outcome. He would use their own love against them to reveal the truth. The king's strategy was simple yet profound. By threatening the child, he would force the real mother to act out of genuine love and selflessness. Solomon's wisdom shone through as he set the stage for the ultimate test of true love, a test that would forever be remembered in the annals of history.
Divide the living child in two, give half to one woman and half to the other.
The entire court held their breath. This was madness. But Solomon had a reason for his drastic order. He watched the women closely for their reactions.
No, please, Your Majesty. Don't harm the child. Give him to her, but let him live.
Her heart broke at the thought of her son being harmed. Solomon saw the true mother's compassion. He knew instantly who was lying. With a wave of his hand, he stopped the guard.
Give the baby to the woman who pleaded for his life. She is the true mother.
Justice had been served. The entire courtroom was silent. Everyone watched, amazed, as the true mother embraced her child. The other woman looked down, ashamed. Solomon's wisdom had saved the day. He had used his understanding of human nature to uncover the truth. News of Solomon's wisdom spread throughout the land. He became known as a fair and righteous ruler. His ability to solve complex problems peacefully made him a beloved leader. The story of the two mothers became a legend. Solomon's judgment serves as a timeless example of using wisdom to guide our actions. He demonstrated the power of compassion and the importance of seeking justice. His story reminds us that true wisdom involves understanding, empathy, and a commitment to what is right. Even today, thousands of years later, we can learn from Solomon. We face difficult choices every day. Like Solomon, we need to seek wisdom in making the right decisions. We should strive to be understanding and compassionate towards others. When we face challenges, let's remember Solomon's wisdom. Let's try to see all sides of a situation. Let's choose kindness and fairness in all that we do. If we do, we can make our world a wiser and more compassionate place, just like King Solomon.